Today I will show you how SQL databases store, retrieve and manage data. And to make it easy to follow, I will show you an example of Airbnb. You can think of SQL databases like a collection of Excel tables, each focused on a very specific topic. For instance, we might have a table listing all hosts, people who rent out their flats. It could look like this. Each row is representing a user. So we have first name, last name, birth date. And then we have a separate table for the flats themselves. They have title, price per night, address. To simplify, I'm just showing a city. Notice that in the flats table, we reference the name of the host from the hosts table to show ownership. This is what makes SQL a relational database. But just adding names to a table can actually become really messy. I mean, what if there are two different Monica Gellers? To keep things clean and organized, we introduce a unique identifier known as ID. Each entry must have a unique primary key to maintain data integrity, at least within the same table. With IDs in place, we can now introduce the concept of foreign keys to link the flats table to the hosts table. Now, instead of writing the full name of the host, each flat entry references the host ID from the host table. This structure forms a one-to-many or one-to-n relationship, where one host can have many flats, but each flat belongs to exactly one host and one host only. So of course, we have a lot more tables in Airbnb than just two. By the way, we also can call one table an entity. So let's introduce the next entity, guests, meaning people who book flats. Probably looks familiar, right? This table is quite similar to the hosts table. So why not just combine them into a single user table? In reality, Airbnb might do that, weighing pros and cons. And this is actually where DB architects come in, and they can talk about those kind of things for hours. For this example here, I decided to do two different tables just to make it easier to follow. All right, let's bring in Walter. He books the cozy loft in Zurich. How should the DB reflect that? Now you might think, why not just add him as a guest directly into the flats table? Maybe something like this? But wait, where do we add the booking details, like the start and the end date? And what happens when another guest also wants to book that flat at another time? To solve this, we introduce a new table, the bookings table. This table starts with, you know by now, an unique ID. Then we link Walter, guest ID 15, and the cozy loft, flat ID 101, to record his stay. And of course, we need to know the booking period. So we add the dates Walter chose in the UI as start date and end date. This structure creates a many-to-many or an end-to-end relationship. Why? Because flats can be booked by many guests, and each guest can book multiple flats. It is flexible and scalable. For example, if Tony also decides to book the cozy loft at another date, we simply add it to our bookings table. With this setup, the database remains clean and efficient and is ready to handle endless bookings and relationships with no drama. So how do database architects reflect these ideas of tables and relationships? They use something called a data schema. Think of it as a blueprint that visually maps out the tables in databases. Each table is shown in a box, listing its columns like first name, last name, etc. So for each table, we have one of those boxes. And then we have foreign keys that visually connect the corresponding primary keys in related tables. Here's a simple drawing, of course, of our setup, but in real life, a data schema would be far more complex. You'd see entities like reviews, flat categories, amenities, flat photos, messages, and so on. These diagrams help architects and developers to understand how different parts of the database interact with each other. So how do developers, or actually systems, interact with the database? Imagine Walter opens the app and searches for a place in Zurich. Behind the scenes, the system wants to read specific data. It queries the database and it might sound something like this. Hey database, show me all apartments in Zurich. This request is made using the structured query language. Actually, that's where the name SQL comes from. A typical query to search and then read data would look something like this. But this is just one type of interaction developers have with databases, reading data. When working with databases, developers rely on 4 operations known as CRUD or CRUD. Create, adding new data. For example, when Monica adds her new flat, we use commands to create an entry. Read, as we talked about it before. Update, modifying existing data. If Monica decides to adjust the price of her flat or update details, SQL commands can make those changes. And delete, removing data. In short, CRUD is the fundamental workflow that keeps your database alive and working. For all product managers out there, when working with databases, you have to keep 4 things in mind. Data integrity. Even small issues like duplicated bookings can frustrate the user. So to maintain data integrity, work with your development team to implement things like data validation, for example, ensuring required fields are filled, data constraints, or just schedule regular data backups and recovery plans. Involve your developers in understanding what is needed. Performance. So optimizing your database for performance means making sure that searches and updates happen in the blink of an eye. So keep in mind, when adding more features to your application, you might need to give your team time to focus on improving your database. If not, your highly appreciated new feature might become a performance nightmare. Scalability. Your database might work great with hundreds of users, but what happens when the number jumps to 1 million? So let your developers know what numbers of user or interactions you are actually expecting in the future, so they can structure the database from the beginning to support your planned growth, so you don't have to deal with growing pains. Security. Depending on your business, you might want to consider implementing encryption for data, role-based access, or multi-factor authentication. Again, discuss it with your developers. If you want to understand how the database fits into the whole web application, check out this video.